Good evening. How's everyone doing this evening? I'm trying to see if I can get my lighting right. I'm not sure if you guys can see me. I'm not in my normal space. Um, but anyway, like I got a lot of shadowy something going on here. Let's see. Is that better? Can y'all see me? Hi, how are y'all doing this evening? Come on in. Come on in. Welcome to this week's edition of Let's Talk. I'm trying to see, gonna get my camera right. Come on in, guys. Come on in and welcome to this week's edition of Let's Talk. I am Juju and I am coming to you guys live. I'm actually from uh my Munchie Journeys bedroom today. Hello, Miss Zan Davis. How are you doing this evening? Thank you for joining. Can you see me? Let me know because I'm just fiddle faddling my way through because I'm not in my normal space in my normal place. But come on in, and thank you, guys, so much for joining me this evening. Um, well, thank you, Miss Jan, Miss Zan. Thank you. Um, so come on in. Let me know, guys, that you're here with us this evening, and that let us know that you're here. Shout me out. Tell me hello. Let me know that you have joined us. Um, Hello, Mr. Troy Booth. How are you doing? I'm gonna let you in right now. Uh, and then guys, come on in, and as you come in, please like and share the video as usual. Please like and share the video. Hello, Mr. Booth. How are you
Hello.
doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay. Just poured a whole cup of water on the floor, but I just gotta let it sit right now
All
because I
right.
did it right as I was coming on. So we throw a towel on and we clean it up when we're done. So you've had a good week.
Yes, I had a pretty good week. How about yourself? Glad to be here. Hey, it could be worse. So we
You
want to just take the time and be thankful.
You are so right. We have to be thankful, and we have to be grateful to God with all that's going on, that we are doing pretty good. We are among the living, we are among the free, and so
Absolutely.
um we have to be grateful to that. Mr. Jackson, I guess you're gonna join us. Come on in and let me know when you're here. But anyway, guys, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. Of course, you all know Mr. Troy Booth. He's a financial expert in the Opelika, in the Alabama, Georgia area. And it is his mission to educate the community on building generational wealth, on how to handle your finances, how to purchase your homes, how to establish trust, and what's best for each individual. And we are so glad that he finds it not robbery to spend his time sharing this information with us. So, tonight, he's going to start on the 10 steps to financial. s- Tell me, Mr. Boo, because I don't have I
Oh
don't have
yeah.
my computer with me.
Oh no problem. We're going to do the 10 steps financial strategy for building generational wealth.
Okay.
And this particular series that we have come up with, after being on the show several times, I had to sit back and really think about it on a deeper level. So we really want to inspire and encourage the man, the
Okay.
woman, and children in
Okay.
that order.
Okay.
So this is our way of trying to bring more awareness, and people have more of a consciousness of their finances, and
Okay.
that it is a system, and systematically they must employ the methods individually and collectively. So that is what we're doing.
Okay, that's awesome. And I heard you say you're going to do the men, the women, and the young people, and I'm excited about that because after our last set of shows, I was talking to some younger individuals, and I said, okay, we really need to focus in on them as well.
Right.
Um, so yeah, so I'm glad that you have a plan for them as well. So
Absolutely.
all righty then. Well, we can go ahead, Mr. Booth. We can go ahead and, of course, I don't need to really make any introductions. You guys
Right.
know, Troy. He's been around Opelika all his life, and he's been doing some form of financial wellness and well-being and dealing in finances for how many years now, Troy?
33.
33 years. That's as long as I've been living.
That's right now. I'm gonna leave that age thing alone.
What'd you say, Troy? You think I graduated before you did. But anyway, so we're gonna let you go ahead and get started with your information that you have for today. And I hope you guys brought a pen because Mr. Booth always has a lot of great information and we need to be taking note of this information.
Yes, and again, I thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to be a part of this amazing show. The good work that you guys do, reaching out to the community to educate and to provide information is very important to be informed, and so I thank you for that. And with that being said, I did forward to Jerry the resources, so I'm sure he would be putting that information in the chat so those individuals who are interested in taking advantage of the information, they can reach out to the resources, look it up online, Google that information. So when it comes to putting a plan of action together for themselves and their family, they will have access to it. So,
Okay. All righty. And I don't think Mr. Jackson has his computer today because actually that's why I'm in my back room because he's in my front room.
right,
So,
right. Well,
so
we'll provide it afterwards, and I will upload it. If you
okay.
can do that, yeah, no problem.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks again for allowing me to share with everyone. What's very important is to actually strategize and come up with a plan of action. Preparation is the key. Before you can actually employ the methods, you have to understand that you have to prepare yourself. And so, with that being said, changing your mindset, this is not something that you're going to get all at once. And I would advise everyone not to do so, not to attempt to try to digest all this information at one time, but come up with a plan of action. And I did give an example before, and I'll give that example again. Just imagine if you was trying to save $10,000 and you never saved money before. And the only option you had was to put $1,000 into an account 10 different occasions to arrive at saving $10,000. This could cause a lot of shock and a lot of discomfort. So what we try to do is baby spoon fill the information to individuals and make it make sense in small increments. So just imagine that you had a mason jar and a loose change in your pockets, 50 cents a day. You would drop 50 cents into that container or that jar each and every day. And what that does, it creates a better habit. And so this is what we're trying to accomplish is allow this information to be digested in a way where it becomes second nature. And once it becomes second nature, then it's very easy for that individual and the participation from the wife and the children to do the same. Everyone will participate together. So you have now a collaborative movement. And so once you have a collaborative movement, then the things that needs to be corrected can be done in small increments. So that's what that lesson is about. No, we don't want to try to take $1,000 10 different times to get to 10 grand. But what we want to do is inspire and encourage those to start saving. So by putting the 50 cents a day aside, it creates a better habit. So that good habit becomes something that you practice each and every day. And this is where the preparation comes in play. So
Okay.
that's what we want to do. So getting into the 10-step financial strategy for building generational wealth. Step one is establishing a financial foundation. And what the goals are here is to gain clarity on your financial situation. And this means that you have to be honest and transparent about where you are. We
Okay.
don't want to sugarcoat anything. We don't want to cover anything up because basically, eventually, that poison will have to rise to the top of the surface. So,
Okay.
what we want to do individually is gain clarity on our financial situation. And,
Okay.
and one of the steps we use is track income and expenses. So what we wanted to do is have a comprehensive approach, something very easy for each individual to tackle, to put their hands around, especially the men. And I'm not going to separate the men, women, and children tonight, but that is the process. Is that the man is responsible for the family, so he has to put the plan of action in place that's going to make sense.
Okay.
So we know that our faith is very important in everything that we do. So once the man lines up with God's will and God's instructions, then
Okay.
it's very easy for him to communicate that information to the wife. And
Okay.
then if the wife is lining up as well, it's very easy for her to communicate that to the children. Now, there are going to be challenges. Life are full of obstacles.
Right.
And that's why we refer to it being growing pains. We understand that in order to grow, we have to go through pain. And this is part of that process. The second thing is emergency fund. Each
Mhm.
family should have 3 to 6 months of their expenses set aside
Mhm.
because we do not know what tomorrow may bring, and we function as if we're okay.
Mhm.
And it's very important that we understand this, is that we want to be prepared. We don't want to just feel okay. We want to be proactive, and we want to do the things that are necessary individually and collectively as the family to do what is necessary if something takes place. Okay, credit score will be another area in this series that we will dive into, because a lot of individuals in our community, and those include the self-employed individuals as well, what they need to understand is that you have the opportunity, you just don't know what to do. So your individual credit is one thing, but those individuals that have businesses, they have to understand that the credit worthiness and the business credit is something totally separate. But once you start to understand the fundamentals, now what can happen for the family is we start to gain what we call leverage. When you have an understanding how finance actually work, then we're going to leverage what we have in order to move the family forward, to move individually forward, so we can take advantage of our financial landscape. The next item under establishing financial foundation is the debt reduction plan. Okay, prioritize high interest debt using the avalanche or snowball methods to pay those items off. We talked about this in the last shows about the snowball approach and the avalanche approach. And
Okay.
the snowball approach is where we tackle the smallest bill that we have as a credit card, that the smallest payment and that smallest balance. And what we do is we eliminate the first one and then we move to the second one. Well, with the avalanche approach, what it does is you're paying a much larger payment. And what it does, it's going to take longer for you to pay this debt off. But the key is with the avalanche approach, you're going to save the
Interest.
interest that we have, like on credit cards. They a lot of them are on variable rates. They start out off with what we call a teaser rate, and then those rates work their way up. So you can have a 0% rate that ends up being 27% rate.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
the finance charge is one charge, but then also you have the interest. Okay. So that's how a credit card actually works. So when you're reading your statement, it's very important to understand what is the finance charge. So when
Okay.
it comes to me making a payment to decrease the principal balance, I want to take care of the finance charge first because that is something they have cooked into that balance. Now, the interest, okay, how do we take care of the interest? So you have to imagine I got to take care of the finance charge and the interest before I get to the
The
principal balance.
principal.
And
Okay.
by having this in your mind, this is going to activate, okay, the movement to decrease those liabilities. So that is very important, but knowing the difference between these two methods. Both are great methods, okay, and that's the snowball and the avalanche method. Also, the resources that I will provide will be, like your budget apps, your YNAB, and your Ever Dollar app. They were very good. Also, remember to pull your free credit report on the annualcreditreport.com website. You can get that free credit report. So everyone should start right there. Is that establish a financial foundation, gain clarity on your financial situation. And that is in step one. Step two is master financial literacy. Okay. This is where we really want to educate ourselves on how the financial landscape actually works. And we want to make sure we spend the time here doing so. The goal here is to build knowledge for confidence decision making, is that we want to build the knowledge, we want to put a plan of action together, and we want to execute that plan. And as we're executing that plan, we're gaining a different level of awareness, we have a different level of consciousness, and this is going to lead us to financial freedom. Understanding the concept like compound interest, inflation, ROI, and leverage. I spoke on leverage a little bit. Okay. How do you build that credit? How do you build that business credit? How do you build assets? See, once you start to build assets, the asset is going to have a value. And once you understand how that value actually operates, as say, for an example, which we used in the previous shows, real estate.
Mhm.
Real estate is something very big. I believe in real estate. I do real estate every single day. And I truly believe individually that in our community, that's men, women, and children, can use this method. Buying real estate, renting real estate, holding real estate, flipping real estate. And if you do it by using a great plan, you can create generational wealth within a 12-month period. Because once
Okay.
you get it started, then what happens, it continues. The goal is once you get the teachings, is to pass that down the line, just like a recipe that we got from grandmother.
Mhm.
Grandmother gave it to mom, mom gave it to the children gave it to the grandkids, and it moves down the line. This is exactly what we want to do when it comes to mastering financial literacy. Okay.
Okay, can I ask you a question, Mr. Booth? You mentioned like things like inflation. That's something that changes, something that we individually have no control over. And it can increase our cost of living so drastically. How do you deal, or how do you suggest people deal with things like inflation? Because going to the grocery store one week, stuff can bananas can be 49 cents a pound, and the next thing you know they're 79, 69 cents a pound. And we have no control over those things. Gas prices go up and down every day, and especially if you have a tight budget, that can really put a strain on a person's budget.
Right, right. It's all about mindset, and I'll spend a little time here. Is that it's about the mindset. You have to understand that we're truly blessed, regardless where we are in this country, because we have certain freedoms, right? And if
Mhm,
we allow ourselves to understand that we have to deflect the noise in the room. See,
mhm,
what is actually going on? We are distracted.
mhm,
See, if I get on the news and I say gas prices are increasing, food prices are increasing, that Social Security is going to go away. Well, think about it this way. Every
mhm,
day when you put your feet on the floor, you take a deep breath in the air. See, we have consciously become so distracted that we can't even put value on the air that we breathe in the morning time when we wake up. We're constantly thinking about, I got to get to my job. I got to get to my job. I got to get the kids to school. Got to get the kids to school. What am I going to do? I got to fix breakfast, right? But we have
mhm,
not taken the time to give or pay homage to the very thing that starts life, and that's the breath. So it's the mindset first. You
mhm,
have to change the mindset, and you have to put a plan of action in place that's going to identify, okay, where am I when it comes to eggs being, say, $3 now
mhm,
or $9 now?
mhm,
Where am I when it comes to milk being, say, $5 versus, say, $3? Or the gas pump, gas have increased by, say, 75%. Well, when it comes to my particular budget, when I talk about these items prior to inflation moving up,
mhm,
where did I have them on an itemized line where I can identify what part of my income is paying for those items? And
mhm.
99% of us that's in this country cannot do that. And
Right.
so that means that they're not prepared. We're not prepared. So the mindset change, talking about preparation, identifying that, okay, if I got $3,000 a month coming into the house after taxes, and I know that I need $2,800 going out, that means I
Mhm.
only have $200. Well, if I
Right.
don't have a budget in place, I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm going to actually end up being in the red versus taking the $200 and being able to put that to the side. So it's
Mhm,
about preparation first. Is that once I get in my mind that, hey, things are going to happen out of my control, but what will I do to respond to the challenge? So everybody's thinking, oh, I'm getting hit with all these bills, but no one is saying I have a plan of action to respond to the challenge. So we have to deal with it that way first. Once you deal with it based on information and based on you putting together a budget, now you can start seeking options. What can I do to decrease my tax liability so I will have more money coming into the household? So
mhm,
if I look at my income and I know that, hey, during tax time, if I'm used to getting $7,500 as a refund, what can I do during the year that would decrease that $7,500, say by $2,500? So that leaves me getting a refund at the end of the year, which is tax-free money of $5,000. But what I just done, because I was prepared in my mind, my mindset said, listen, I need to make an adjustment. And that adjustment would allow me to take that $2,500 because I reduced the taxes that are coming out of my paycheck, and that money comes into the household. See, that is one option,
mhm, mhm,
and nothing changed. Our
mhm,
only thing we done there is we became aware of how we are taxed. And so when I understand how we are taxed, I can proactively do things that is necessary to help my family when it comes to how do we get more usable dollars in the home. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Learn the difference between assets and liabilities. That's next under um, step two. And again, step two is master financial literacy. That's very important that we understand um, in that portion in step two. Know your net worth and track it regularly. A lot of people, a lot of us in our communities don't even know what their net worths are. Okay, I have a car, I have furniture, I have a retirement account, I have a savings account, I have a checking account. I have started a small savings for my child's education, right? I was left the home house. My mother left me the home house, and we're not even putting together a financial statement, okay, to understand what the net worth is. What do I own? Add all that
Mm-hmm.
information up. And what do I owe on all of these items? Well,
Okay.
if I got a house
Mm-hmm.
that's worth $300,000 that
Mm-hmm.
was left for me by my mother and my father, that means that that is an asset of $300,000. I got retirement on the job, been on the job for 30 years, and I got say $100,000 in my 401k, my child's education fund. We have saved, as an example, say 50,000. Just taking those three items, you got 300,000 plus 100,000 plus 50,000. That gives you $450,000. And keep in mind, the house was paid for, so you
Okay.
have a net worth of 450,000. The critical error here is that the individual that have those type of things going on in their family
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to leverage that. How
Mm-hmm.
do we build wealth with the asset that we have? And see, consciously in our minds, we are saying that we are poor. And
Mm-hmm.
see,
Mm-hmm.
that is a
Yeah,
mindset.
yeah,
It's
yeah, and that's what I was thinking, Mr. Booth, on
yeah.
the net worth thing.
Hmm.
I'm thinking I ain't got no net worth, but so what? So what kind of thing? I mean, I know I would do houses and things, but what else? What other things would you include? And then what would you subtract? Would you subtract your debt from that total?
Yeah, right, right. You the debt. So if you got a
Okay.
house that's worth 300,000, you owe $100,000 on it. The net worth of that house will be $200,000.
Uh-huh.
Okay, but you still it's positive. Okay,
Mhm,
you're
mhm,
not in the red, you're in the
mhm,
black. The
mhm,
consciousness that we're talking about is that the majority of individuals don't know that they have assets. And so when you don't know that you have an asset, when it comes to solving a very important challenge, which is how do we build wealth, or how do we take care of our families? Well, if you don't know what you have that did not cost you anything, it's going to be very difficult for you to go out to generate additional income, additional wealth. So it starts with the mindset, and a couple of resources that we have to help everybody here is, it's a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and there's another one, The Millionaire Next Door. Those are two
mhm.
good books
Okay.
that individuals can go purchase and look, and
Okay.
you can read this resource, and it will help you kind of understand in layman's terms a lot of things that will help assist you on making that change. Online courses out there, you have all kind of things that are free that you can take to start to educate yourself on net worth and these items that we discuss under the step two, which is the master financial literacy. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Step three, protect yourself with insurance. And we talked about this in the show several times.
Mhm,
Um, our families, we neglect insurance purchases. How
mhm,
do we protect what we have? We have cars, we have homes, the children. Everyone in the family needs to understand how insurance actually work. We need to
Mhm.
have coverage. So, say for example, on that home as an asset, I need to make sure that if I owe $100,000 on that home,
Mhm.
in my life insurance policy, I want at least $100,000. When something happens to me, I pass away,
Okay.
the insurance policy will pay off that $100,000 mortgage.
Okay.
Now, the $300,000 asset is free and clear. And what's important, as we will continue to discuss, is how does that asset passes to the family?
Mhm.
Therefore, how does the family leverage that asset? So it's very important to understand. And the goal here is to mitigate risk before building wealth. Is
Okay.
what is the risk out here? And this is what we're really hitting at is planning how to really ask the right questions. What is the risk? What do I need to do? What kind of plan of action we need to put together? So there are a couple of things: life insurance, term
Mhm.
life, for
Turn light.
income
Okay.
replacement, whole life for legacy planning. Okay,
Okay.
so
Okay.
that's exactly how we want to look at doing that. Is
Okay.
again, term life is for income replacement, and then
Okay.
what you're looking for, um, the whole life, which stays the same. This
Right.
is the legacy, and as we build these series, we'll start to talk a little bit more about how do we build that legacy. How
Okay.
do we take that term policy and say, for an example, my retirement is not what I want it to be, or it's not enough money for me to survive. Well, what we can do with that term policy, because it builds a cash value and we can pull money in as income, right?
Oh, okay.
From that policy. So this is part of your parachute plan. Once you start to exit your workplace, your
Okay.
business, how
Okay.
do we do that? Okay, so that's what the life insurance cover.
Okay.
Health insurance, protect against medical bankruptcy.
Mhm.
This has really impacted our community where someone becomes very ill and then they have to go to the hospital and they do
Mhm.
not have insurance in place. And so what happens is the hospital starts to bill them, requesting that they pay them in full, and they don't have 20, 30, 40, $50,000 to pay that bill. And so what happens, life continues to move forward. Now it becomes a collection item, it becomes a judgment item against that individual, and this handicap, it cripples the family.
Right.
Medical bankruptcy. Now you're forced to do something to get the creditor off your back. When if you would have invested a small amount of money through many subsidy programs,
Mm.
so that you can have health insurance, so that you can create sustainability. Remember, we have always discussed being responsible, being accountable to and for that responsibility in order to
Right.
create sustainability. So these are the things fundamentally that we want the men, women, and children to digest in order for them
Okay.
to be able to regurgitate it. And I said this in that order, in that it is a responsibility for each class, okay, to
Mhm.
be able to discuss this. So when we have those Sunday dinners, when we have those family gatherings, the first thing we should always do is talk about finance.
Oh,
We
okay.
should always talk about generational wealth. We don't
Okay.
need we don't need to talk about what's going on down the street. Let's talk about how do we build together as a family.
Family.
That is what's
Okay.
important. So we're
Okay.
changing the mindset so that we can actually do the things that are necessary in order to sustain the family. Disability and long-term care insurance.
Oh,
See,
okay.
we don't talk about this.
Right.
Mom, dad, they get ill, they get older, and we have to look at our workforces today. A lot of jobs are starting to go home, which in return, that's going to allow those families to really take care of the elder,
Mm.
individual in the
Mm.
home, being at work outside the home makes it very difficult to take care of
Right.
mom, take care of
Right.
dad. So these are some of those areas that we want to be mindful of, often overlooked, but very critical. Umbrella policies as well. And umbrella policies extract liability protection for families and the business. And this is one of the areas we talked about when we discussed trust. And so as we build a series, again, fundamentally speaking, we're putting the foundation down. These are the things we're actually going to discuss. And then what we're
Okay.
going to do is we're going to build upon that rock a solid structure on top of a solid foundation. So when that hurricane or that tornado comes or that
Mhm.
challenge comes financially to the family home, the house that
Mhm.
housed everyone would be able to stand the test of time. This is what we're doing. So
Okay.
moving on to step four. Did you have any questions?
Yes,
Anybody?
I did. I wanted to go back
Okay.
because you said about the insurance that we should have term life and whole life insurance. See, I never knew that, and even when people were selling me insurance, they sold a either or. I mean, that was how I saw it. I
Right.
never saw it as having both.
Well,
And
yeah, and it just kind of explaining that. See, the term is exactly what it says. It's going to live for a certain period
a
of time.
period of time, right? And
Right. The whole
mhm.
life is forever. It's
Right,
there.
right. And so I never thought, why would you want to I always thought, why would you want term life insurance? That just doesn't
Right.
make any sense. Cause I'm
Right.
like, my dad was 93 when he died. My mom was 86. I got a long time. 20 years
Right.
of
Right.
insurance ain't gonna
It,
do
it,
me no good.
so hey, it's very important to understand that. Let's talk about that for a second. So the policies that you want the ones that generate income, that
Hmm.
generates a value, not
Okay.
just a death benefit, but a
Okay.
life
A
benefit.
life benefit. Okay.
Yes, yes. So we want
And
to
that's
make
what the term life does.
well,
It just
different policies will address those statements. So,
mhm.
what you want to do, remember, we are building generational wealth. And so, it's very important to understand that changing the mindset means that I'm not thinking about Troy only.
Mhm.
I'm thinking about Troy. I'm thinking about the 5 children that I have. I'm thinking about the 8 grandchildren that I have. I'm thinking about the balances that I owe on the good debts that I have. I'm thinking
Mhm.
about the bad debts that I have that are depreciating and losing value. So that means that my plan of action has to surround all of that. Because
Okay.
remember, if something happens to you or me,
Mhm.
what we don't want to do is pass on our
Yeah.
troubles.
Uh-huh.
We want to answer that. We want to be able to have a plan that is going to make life a little lighter for the loved ones we leave behind. But we have, based on culture, see, this have been taught the
Mhm.
bad habits that we need to get rid of, that we need to replace, is going to take time. But
Right.
we have been taught to be selfish. We have been taught to be about self. We have been taught, hey, let somebody else deal with that problem.
Mhm.
And we see this in politics every single day.
Mhm.
You have one party says, well, hey, right now, let's just do that right there, and somebody else can worry about this problem later down the line. That's not
Mhm.
solving anything. And we have gotten used to hearing that and participating with that. So we
Right.
have to change our mindset. I want to continue to say that. It's the mindset that we need to change.
Mhm.
So, of course, yes, that's what we want to be able to do with the insurance is make sure that short term and long term, that's what the
Okay.
term in the whole life is going to address.
Okay.
And as we build that component around the trust, I would say this: your trust becomes the beneficiary, not a person.
Okay.
So what the trust is there for is to keep order in the family.
Mm.
So when you pass away, the asset goes to the trust. Okay. It goes into the trust. And then what the will does is the small things that you forgot about, the will is going to push those small things like a car, jewelry. I left $5,000 in the box over there. So what the will would do is push those items to the trust. And this is how you eliminate dealing with probate. You got everybody out your business. But what we do, we go with a will
Mm-hmm.
and we say, oh, hey, my will said, hey, this goes to my son, this goes to my daughter, but the estate's got to be settled. So
Mm-hmm.
now your assets can be under attack.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to educate ourselves slowly so that we can go to the table with the family and say, hey, this is what we need to do for our family.
Mm-hmm.
These are the tools that we're going to use. So that's what we're doing here. So the next thing that we're going to actually go into is step 4: optimize your tax strategy. Let me say it again. Optimize your tax strategy, which means everyone should have a tax strategy,
Mm-hmm.
not what refund I'm going to get at the end of the year. But what is your strategy? What is your strategy to help you have more usable funds coming into the house? Remember, we talked about inflation. Well, if you don't have a tax strategy, you're sitting on your hands. You're waiting
Mm-hmm.
for someone else to do it for you. And that is really what our problem is here in America, across the country, not just in our communities, but it's across the country. We have been taught to become dependent on subsidies or someone else doing it for you. And this is why it's so important that we start with the men. See, it's very simple. No one else can be a man for a man, period. So the men have to be responsible and accountable to that greater responsibility. It doesn't matter where the chips fall. I need to be a man and I need to stand 10 toes down where I am. If I have not achieved anything, then I need to stand right there in it, make the necessary changes and start to move forward. See, that's what we got to do. Is once we start admitting to ourselves and to others where it all matters, our families, then the lightness of the load will go down. It becomes light. Now I can actually start to breathe and I can actually start doing something collectively to take care of myself and my family. That is the key. So in optimization for tax strategy, the
Mm-hmm.
goal is to reduce taxable income,
Mm-hmm.
increase wealth retention.
So how do you reduce your taxable income? Because that is something I know, like somebody in my situation,
Right.
or like me,
Right.
the job pays an okay salary, but I don't have any kind of dependents. They're taking the maximum amount of money out of my check, but still, at the end of the year, you're left with a big tax bill.
Okay. All
So,
right. Let's take your example. Let me just break it down for you. I'm not going to ask you any questions, but I want to just take one or two, maybe three little points there. You own your home.
mhm,
Hmm? You
yeah.
got a house. You got real estate, right?
Mhm,
Okay. All right. Now, so that's an asset. So, as an example, not to go in too far, let's say, for an example, let's use $100,000 in annual income. You
mhm,
earn $100,000 in annual income, and the way your tax structure is, let's say you pay 25% in taxes. That
mhm,
means that's $25,000.
mhm,
That leaves you with $75,000. And then we're gonna keep it
mhm,
real simple. All
mhm.
right, with your standard deduction, you don't have an itemization that will help the federal taxation. So
Right.
you're going to pay taxes on the $75,000. Now, you have a house. Okay,
Mhm.
you have a homestead, which means all the money that is increased, the equitable position, this is your homestead, you would pay zero taxes on that. And what the law says is that if you kept the house, if you sold it, if you kept it 3 years out of 5 years, you would pay zero taxes on that. We're gonna move that to the side. Let's say that you have $100,000 in equity in the home.
Mhm.
So now what you start to do is you start to leverage and do things that are going to generate options. So now you go out and look for a rental
Mhm.
home that not only you can buy as an additional asset, but you also going to rent that out that is going to give you a level of passive income. Plus,
Mhm.
what you spent money on becomes a tax deduction. Therefore, it decreased your taxable income of $75,000. See
Okay.
that?
Okay.
See that?
Okay. Uh-huh.
See,
Uh-huh.
but see, the thing is the mindset. What you originally said, they killing me in taxes, and that's
Mhm.
all you said. So
Mhm.
what we want to do is change the mindset that will inspire and encourage you to activate to look at other options.
Okay.
That's what we're trying to do. And see,
Okay.
once we start this the conversation around
Mhm.
the table,
Mhm.
what we do at the table in our culture, we allow children to come to the table with a cell phone and they're texting, they're on Instagram, they're chatting with their friends next door and down the street. But what we're not doing is say, hey, listen, this is time for us as a family to come together to discuss our options, not only for today, but for tomorrow. Children understand that we're not going to be here always. And we have a greater responsibility to our family. See, when we start changing the mindset and we start repeating this and we
Mhm.
start being the example, they will be what they see. So if
Mhm.
you're not doing it, then the results are going to be the same. But once you start to speak the language differently, when you start to employ different methods that are going to be beneficial and that is going to uncover options for yourself and the family, then that's when generational wealth starts to come naturally and organically. It's the mindset.
Okay.
It's the mindset. So reducing taxable income and increase wealth retention. Did I answer your question?
You did.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Moving on down. For individuals under optimization, when it comes to your tax strategy, we want to maximize standard and itemize deduction. We just covered that in answering that question. We want to contribute to the retirement account, RRA, and your Roth and HSA, which is your health savings association or your health savings plan. We want to put money there because, because of health declining, deductibles are increasing.
Mhm.
So that means that we have to activate because the country as a whole, we're starting to suffer. When we see things take place with Social Security and other areas, we need to activate. We can't say, well, hey, I'm going to wait and see what they're going to do up in Washington or what they're going to do in Montgomery. No, your greater responsibility is to yourself and to your children. We always given that right by the man upstairs, so we have to
Mhm.
activate ourselves to do what is necessary. Next thing, consider solar and EV tax credits. There are many tax credits in the tax code, and we won't spend a lot of time there, but when we build new homes or we improve our homes, these additional things that will help us save when it comes to the utility bills every single month. There are credits that the government, the Internal Revenue Service, in their code will give you as a deduction, therefore decreasing your taxable income. The the problem is we're not identifying our benefits that are there for free, which means it doesn't cost you anything. All you need to do is read and seek. I'm seeking the information. I'm becoming educated on the information, and I'm going to employ the methods that's going to benefit myself and my family. Okay.
Okay.
All right. What you got any more questions there?
No. Mm-mm.
All right, we're gonna move on to step five because I know our time, is kind of short. So we on step
Mhm.
five. Choose the right business structure. Those individuals that are in our community that are in business, it doesn't matter if you're in the automobile business, arena, or you're a hairstylist, or you're a tax professional, a CPA, a bookkeeper, health services. Do you sit with the elderly? All these areas, we need to know how to establish our businesses. And we talked about limited liability companies. We talked about forming S corps. We talked about C corps and also nonprofits. And I'll just take very quickly sole proprietorship, which we see a lot of in our community, versus the S corp level
Mm.
after, say, the limited liability company. As a sole proprietor, you're going to pay taxes three different ways: federally, state, and within that federal realm, self-employment tax. Well, if you
Mhm.
change the structure to that S corp, then
Mhm.
you're going to eliminate self-employment tax.
Right.
So on an average, you're going to be able to save about 12% right there. So now that 12% comes back into the house. Okay, so understanding structure is very important. What is the action plan here? You're going to file with your Secretary of State. This is how you establish a legal entity. You're going to get from the Internal Revenue Service the EIN, the employer, or excuse me, employer identification number, and this is how you establish your legal entity. Draft your operation agreement and your bylaws. Okay, so these are the things that you can do, and those resources we will have available to everyone as well. So that is how we start to transition from being a sole proprietor to being a legal entity so we can take advantage of the tax codes. So a lot of our problem is not understanding the tax code because we're not reading. We need to be responsible, change the mindset, and say, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to wait for the Democratic Party to do anything. I'm not going to wait for the Republican Party to do anything, or any other party for us that matter. We have to be proactive individually when it comes to taking care of our business. Okay.
Okay.
Any questions about that? Nothing in the chat yet. Okay. All right. Number six. Okay. We're going to kind of get down these because we're at 751. Implement the trust for asset protection. We talked about those things, and we will start to unpack each one of these 10 steps in
Okay.
the next show. So we'll spend time deeper on one, two, maybe three out of this list.
Okay.
So implement trust for asset protection. Number one, land trust. Number two, asset protection trust, APTs. Number three, living trust. And then that last thing, when it comes to that generational wealth, that dynasty trust. Lock in wealth for multiple generations with tax advantages. That's what that is for. Use a corporate trustee or trusted advisor to manage complex trust. So we'll have those resources available. Step seven, build multiple streams of income.
Mm.
We talked about that a little bit with your question. See, what I did is I pushed you to an additional option, and
Mm.
that's where that option sits right here via multiple streams of income. You have your job where you're making money. It's not about just earning the money, it's about how do I benefit based on the tax code. Well, if I
Mhm.
have a rental property from the leveraging my primary home, I create a deduction. Therefore, that means more money comes into my house. And some of that money is tax-free money. So understanding these concepts and the process and the methods, it will help us and lead us to generational wealth. Earn income, job or business. Number two, passive income. That's rental properties, dividend and royalties. Number three, portfolio income, stock appreciation, mutual funds, ETFs. Okay. And the last thing, business income, franchise, online business, contracting. And so we have an action plan here for that as well. Invest in cash flowing assets like duplexes, vending machines, build and monetize your skills. And hey, I can offer a service and I'm going to charge X number of dollars for that particular service. And see, that brings in additional income. And then you can take that money, buy insurance policies for it's that term policy, that whole life policy. And see, you didn't have to touch the income that's coming in. And from doing that investment, those policies create wealth. They create a streamline of income. So now you're paying yourself from your job, from your rental property, and from the insurance policy. See how you
Okay.
just created three streams of income very quickly. So that's
Okay.
how we want to look at these things. Number eight, create a wealth plan for your children. Very important. Very important that we include the children in our plan. Set up in a custodial Roth IRA. Kids can contribute earned income. So that'll be one thing we'll talk about the next time. How do you pay your children from your business to get the tax deduction, but the money stays in the family? See that? See,
Okay.
see how you start to do things to get the
Okay.
money back to the table. Start a 529 college savings plan. This is one of the things that we encourage is you want to put money aside for that child, and it's going to be beneficial for them and for yourself as well. Pay your child through your business. We talked about that. Teach financial literacy early using real life simulations. That's what we want to do. Real life examples. Create a family bank or a private lending entity. That's
Mm.
the trust. See, when you
Okay.
pushing the money from the insurance into the trust, you're actually creating a bank for
Okay.
your family. And we'll get
Okay.
into those things. Number nine, build a team of advisors. You should have a tax professional and or CPA,
Mm-hmm.
attorney. When it comes to estate planning, business law, you need to have a financial advisor as well. So everybody should have a broker account. Your insurance specialist, you should have an insurance agent where you're reviewing your documentation and your policies every quarter, um, annually or every 6 months. You want to do that. You want to have a business coach or a consultant. That's where we come in at. My thing
Mm-hmm.
is real estate. I believe in real estate, because that is how I built my wealth. That is how I secured myself at this particular point. Now, there are other ways and other things you can do, but for
Mm-hmm.
me, real estate
Real
works.
estate.
The
Okay.
last thing, step number 10, document everything and review annually. This is what we want to do as a family. Create a personal and business financial binder, physical, and do one in a cloud based software so
Okay.
you can access it from anywhere. So if you're having a family reunion in Florida, you can pull the cloud base up and you can discuss your family business. And the
Okay.
things that should be included: will and
Mm.
trust. We talked about that. The insurance policy, we talked about that. Entity docs, we talked about that. Bank, your crypto and brokerage information, we touched on that. Income and expense trackers, that is the software. Make sure that you maintain a list of all your passwords, because you're going to want to constantly be changing your password. When we're dealing with technology, we don't want to get comfortable, because we have a lot of things going on in the world. So we want to be proactive in protecting ourselves and protecting our families. Annual review checklist. One, net worth statement. We definitely want to have that. Tax situation. What is going on? Be honest. Number three, retirement contributions. What are you doing there? Um, Entity structure, relevance. How do we structure the entity? And assets reallocations. What are we going to do here? So that is the 10 steps that we will be building this series around. And we're
Okay.
very proud of this, the 10-step financial strategy for building generational wealth, starting with the men first, getting to the women second, and then the children last. And then we collectively bring the family unit together. I thank you for your time. If you got any other questions, let's get it.
Well, I don't have any, and I can't see because I'm in the dark. And Mr. Jackson left us hanging today. But I don't see any questions on here, Mr. Booth. But I appreciate so much, of course, any time
Absolutely.
that you're
Absolutely.
willing to share with us. And I always learn something personally
Good.
every time
Good.
you're on discussing. So I need to apply. Not just learn it,
Right. Right.
application.
Right.
Apply it.
And again, we discussed by doing a live event, and we're working on that.
Oh,
And what we want to be able to do is encourage people to make notes, ask questions, write the questions down, and we don't want to put anyone on the spot. So when we do those live events, they will be able to put their questions in a box, and then
okay.
we'll randomly select from that box and answer questions. And those individuals that are ready to take certain steps when it comes to like investing in real estate or
Mm-hmm.
doing something with their primary home. How do we leverage when it comes to real estate? Well, they definitely can come to the business, or we will have a team of individuals there. We are building additional partnerships so that this will be collectively something that will benefit the community. We want everyone to actually be involved. This is not a one-time thing. This is something we want to employ where it becomes second nature. So, of course, any questions, anything that comes up now or after the show or 2, 3 weeks down the line, it doesn't matter. We will
Right.
be available to
Okay.
help everyone. Okay.
So and so I guess my last question is, when it comes to investing in real estate, how much money should you have saved up to invest in real estate?
I'll give you two parts. Someone like you that has an asset don't need to save anything. You need to activate your asset. That's what you would need to do in your case. For someone that is new in the game, well, that can be one or two things. I need a down payment as an individual. If I'm a veteran, that means you don't have to have a down payment to buy
Mm-hmm.
a house. If you are an individual that's not a veteran, but you decide to buy in, say, in rural areas like Casita, Phoenix City, you can use the USDA. Again, no money down. In that case, FHA, which requires, say, 3.5% down. Well, there are grant programs through the city and other municipalities, and also there are other programs through like United Way, Red Cross, where they are actually bringing together the initiatives that will help individuals with down payment and closing costs that are actually needed. Also, you can be very creative when buying real estate. You can say to the seller, listen at this very closely. I'm going to go to the bank and I'm going to get an 80% loan to value, which means on $100,000, the bank is going to give me $80,000. I'm going to ask the seller to take back a second for 20,000. So that means I don't have to come out of pocket with anything. Now I can get into assigning these different things. So to answer your question, is there many, many options.
Oh, okay.
We're changing the mindset so that we can start asking the question, what can I do to make that happen today?
Okay.
Okay, credit, am I good on credit? Job, am I good on the job? Okay, if I got a check on both of those, and the only thing I got to deal with is the down payment, guess what? You can get in a house. It's just that simple. You
Okay.
don't you don't need to feel pressure to have all of this money. The thing
Okay.
is to be aware and educated on what your options are and activate. That's what we want
Okay.
to do.
Okay. Well, all right then. We have gone over, but I look forward to talking to you again,
All right.
Mr. Booth. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.
Thank you. Take care.
All
Bye bye.
right. Bye bye. All righty, guys. Thank you all so much for joining us. We're gonna put the announcements in the comments, and I'll let you know what we're gonna do next week. I'm gonna be out of town on business, but I may still do the show. Or Mr. Jackson may do something. We'll see. We'll let you know though before the week is out. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Of course, thank you to Mr. Trotting Booth for all of his wealth of information. It's always a pleasure to talk to him, and like I said, I always learn something. So we all need to figure out how we can better position ourselves and our families financially for the future. But anyway, I am Juju. I am that mountain moving giant sailor air. I'm walking by faith. I'm inspiring hope and I'm showing love all along the way. And until next time, guys, I wish you all much love and many blessings. Good night.